Okay, so you want to be able to draw your own fantasy map, and whether that's for a book or an RPG, or you just think fantasy cartography is cool and fun, well, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'm going to show you how I like to go about drawing mountains. Okay, one of the first things that we need to know, is there going to be the name of a location there? If so, we need to make sure that those letters are on the page first before we start drawing our mountains, because we're going to have to draw our mountains around the letters just to make it look cool. Okay, in this scenario, we're going to have the blue mountains. One of the cool things about Clip Studio is that they have this thing called a mapping pen. Believe it or not, it actually works pretty good. So in this scenario, we've got the blue mountains over here. Now, I want this mountain range to be pretty huge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a sketch layer, okay? I'm going to turn my sketch layer down to 50 or less opacity. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of draw out the outline of where my mountain range runs. There's a couple mountains that are going to run that way, and then we'll have a couple of mountains that run up that way. A really basic blah sketch, don't have to worry about it too much. And the basic premise of this is that we want our mountains to look like a mountain range, and a little bit sporadic, a little bit natural. Now before we get started, I want to make sure you remember that this is a fantasy map. It's a hand-drawn map. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, your mountains are going to all kind of look a little bit different. So now I'm going to make another layer, okay, and this is going to be my mountains layer. Mountains. With our mountains, what we're going to do is we're going to find our pen, our mapping pen. We're going to go to black, and we are going to make this a lot smaller because it doesn't need to be that small, or that big, excuse me. And let's put this one at 100, okay, and I want to see, there we go, that's looking a little better. Now when you see this, you notice that I'm trying to make them look a little different with each mountain. Each mountain has three basic elements. You got the left, you got the right, and then you're going to have the shadow. Now the shadow is really what's going to make this mountain range pop and look like a mountain range. But you're going to have to make sure that you have some variation in each mountain. The height, the width, the shape, everything should be just a little bit different. Notice how this one is run into a place where it's going this way. I can even go on this side. It's not like I have to hit them all on the same side. I'm going to add just a couple more over here. And then I'm going to add a hill. A couple of hills so that we know that these are not part of the mountains. We can make a nice little mountain there. We can make this one, there you go. Okay, so we've got a nice little mountain range going here, but as you can see, it just looks like a bunch of triangles, kind of wavy triangles, right? What's really going to make this pop and look like a mountain range is the shading. We have to decide which side we want the shading to be, either the left or the right. It doesn't matter. You choose, but make sure that you keep it on the same side for every mountain, and that goes for your hills as well. So when we come in here to do our shading, we're going to drop our pen size down just a little and then start filling in one side of the mountains. Now notice how it doesn't have to be perfect. Even notice how when it comes up against another mountain, I kind of shy away from the other mountain a little bit. When you go in here, you can even make some variations in the mountains. For example, right here, I can do some lines and then kind of make it sporadic like this, and that'll make it look like it's got something else going on that we can't see. But for the most part, you can really just shade all on one side, and if you come out as a squiggle at the end, it really kind of makes it look like a bunch of mountains. And really, I know this seems strange, but I'm really kind of just scribbling to make shade on each mountain. Now you'll notice that I don't actually bring my shading all the way to the top of the mountains because the sun is over the mountains, so it would be shining down on the mountains. Now for your hills, I just do some lines because hills aren't as big as our mountains, right? So we'll just do some lines. to indicate that they are shady because they are hilly. If you back it up and look at this, we've got a nice little mountain range going here. This is pretty cool. And just like that, you've got this great mountain range. And all you have to do is continue to fill in mountains all the way in your areas. But as you can see, I kind of stopped right here. I didn't actually fill in all this space because in between mountains are valleys, obviously. And not only that, but if you leave valleys and shapes inside of the mountain range, it means that you can fill it in with trees later. And if you want to know how I like to do my fantasy trees on my fantasy maps, I've got that in another video, so make sure to check that out as well. If you want to see what a full map can really look like, make sure you check out my book, Stone and Sky. Also, you can get 7 free prelude fantasy stories about characters that you'll meet in Stone and Sky by going to my website, freefantasyfiction.com. They're totally free. And if you love fantasy like I do, you're gonna love them. Make sure to subscribe for more fantasy map videos just like this one, and we'll see you guys in the next one.